A mother, 3 young daughters, and a stranger's twisted offer that seemed too good to be true. But what began as an act of kindness spiraled into a nightmare no one could have predicted. Within hours, an innocent shopping trip turned into a desperate search for an 8-year-old girl. What really happened that night? And how did it lead to a crime so horrific it would haunt a community forever? The 21st June 2013 was just like any other day for 8-year-old Cherish Lily Perrywinkle. The little girl, who had been born on Christmas evening of 2004 and was described by her family as the best Christmas gift, had spent that summer's day with her mother Rain, having her hair washed and helping to pack her bags in preparation for the next day. Less than 24 hours later, Cherish was due to fly to San Diego to spend the rest of the summer with her dad, Billy, and his new wife. Cherish's parents weren't together, and Cherish lived in Jacksonville, Florida, with her mom, her mom's boyfriend, and her 2 little sisters, so was excited to be able to see her dad again for the first time in months. The evening before Cherish was due to fly, Rain had decided at the last minute that she wanted to buy her daughter some new clothes for her trip. At around 7:30 p.m., Rain took Cherish and her other 2 daughters to the Dollar General store on Edgewood Avenue, a 20-minute walk from their home. Once there, they looked at clothes, and Rain had picked out a little white dress with hearts on it that she wanted to buy for Cherish. But when she took it to the checkout, she realized she didn't have enough money and had put it back. Rain only had $100, and this also had to cover general grocery shopping along with travel to the airport the next morning, so in essence didn't have much money left at all to buy clothes. Little did Rain know at this time was that there was a man watching her every move. A cashier inside the store later told investigators that this same man had approached the till soon afterwards to ask if Rain had put the dress back, because she didn't have enough money, and the cashier confirmed this was the reason. The man then went outside the store to wait for Rain, and when she finally came outside, he struck up a conversation with her. The man introduced himself as Don, and went on to explain to Rain that he was waiting for his wife when he noticed Rain had to put the dress back. He then went on to tell her that he had a $150 gift card for Walmart that she could use to buy some clothes if she wanted. He'd just need to wait until his wife arrived with it. The cashier witnessed the pair talking for 15 to 20 minutes outside. Don eventually gave up waiting outside for his wife and said that he'd just meet her at Walmart, which was around a 10-minute drive away. It was getting late, and Walmart would be closing soon, so he offered Rain a lift. Rain was at first reluctant to get inside this old man's van with her 3 young daughters, but it began to rain, and she finally gave in and accepted the ride. Don helped her to load her stroller and her shopping into his van, and they went on their way. Rain noted immediately that the van was slightly odd. It had carpet down and blinds on the windows, but this wasn't enough to make her see any warning signs. Surely this was just a little old man offering to help a struggling mother, and soon they were going to meet his wife. There was only one problem. Don didn't have a wife. Once they arrived at Walmart, Don took out his phone and appeared to be speaking with his wife about what they would eat. Don told Rain that he'd wait outside for his wife and that she should go inside with the girls and start shopping, and he'd join her a little later on. Rain went inside with her daughters and began to add stuff into her cart. All the while, the store's CCTV system capturing her and her daughters' every move. Rain started gathering items, making a stack in the cart for each girl. Cherish had wanted to buy her mother a necklace whilst they were looking at the jewelry, but Rain told her daughter that they were here to buy things for her and her sisters. A short time later, Don joined her as he said he would, but still no wife. Rain asked a few more times if Don's wife was on the way with the gift card, because she knew she couldn't afford the items on her own. It was around this time that Dawn started behaving strangely. It seemed that Dawn had absolutely no interest in shopping inside the store and only added a bundle of rope to his shopping cart. Still, alarm bells weren't yet ringing for Rain. As the minutes bore on, Dawn began to show an unhealthy infatuation with Cherish. At one point, he picked out a pair of shoes for Cherish, but upon seeing them, Rain refused to allow him to purchase them for Cherish. This was because Dawn had picked out a pair of ladies' high heels, with Rain later commenting that they would have been too high for even her to wear herself. On 2 occasions, Dawn also accompanied Cherish alone to a dressing room, whilst Rain was busy shopping. As closing time approached and Walmart announced they'd soon be shutting off the tills over the tannoy, Dawn's wife had still not arrived with the gift card as promised. Rain was still in the middle of her shop, so was rushing around, panicking, trying to get the last bits of what she needed, and her young daughters were now getting restless. In the midst of it all, Dawn asked if any of them had eaten. Rain said no, so Dawn offered to get everybody cheeseburgers from McDonald's. He asked Cherish to go with him to help him carry the food. Rain allowed this because the McDonald's was inside the store. Rain later testified, "If he would have asked me if he could take her, I would have said no. But because McDonald's is inside Walmart with people around, I knew she would never leave my side." It was after 20 minutes had passed that Rain began to worry. Walmart was now about to close. She had a trolley full of shopping. Dawn, who was supposed to be paying for her things, was nowhere to be found, so she was stuck. She also began to wonder what was taking them so long. Rain left her trolley, grabbed her 2 young daughters, and began to search the store for Cherish and Dawn. Rain frantically searched the checkouts, the aisles, and the McDonald's, but they were nowhere in sight. She ran outside the car park, and Dawn's van had disappeared. Rain later told a court, "I was yelling, 'Call 911. My daughter's been taken and no one would help me right away.'" Around 40 minutes after her daughter disappeared, just after 11:20 p.m., an employee gave her a cell phone and she called 911.
I'm at Walmart. I'm in traffic and taken.
What do you mean?
Taken by strangers. I can't find her.
Officers quickly arrived on the scene, however Rain didn't have many details to give to the police. Dawn was a white man, with white hair in a white van. However, despite this very vague description, Rain became frantic when police told her they were very familiar with Dawn. It seemed that they knew who she was talking about instantly. This unfortunately was because Dawn, whose name was actually Donald Smith, was a registered sex offender with crimes dating back to the 1970s, who had been released from prison just 3 weeks earlier. Rain was distraught. Police searched throughout the night, but to no avail. By sheer luck, at 9 a.m. the next morning, a police officer was conducting a traffic stop when he recognized Dawn's van drive right past him. He quickly pulled Dawn over, detained him, and searched his van. There was no sign of Cherish. The stroller and shopping items that Rain had left in his van were also missing. Dawn was wearing the same clothes that he's been described as wearing the night before, a black t-shirt and jeans. The officer noticed, however, that the lower half of him was soaking wet. He knew immediately that wherever Cherish was, it involved water. A tip-off soon informed police that Dawn's van had earlier been seen parked in the nearby woods. Police were immediately dispatched to the woods and began searching for water within the vicinity. They soon located a creek behind an old church, and sadly, with the help of search dogs, were able to quickly locate the body of Cherish in the water. She had been weighted down by bricks and debris. The injuries on her body gave insight immediately into the brutality and horror that had been inflicted on her after Dawn had taken her from the store. Cherish had injuries all over her entire body. Donald had tightened a gag around her mouth so severely that her gums had bled. He had sexually assaulted and sodomized her and even left a hickey on her chest. There was blunt force trauma to her head. Ligature marks were found around her neck, and it was found that she had been strangled with such force that her eyes had bled, and the blood vessels in her throat and face had burst. She also was found to have defensive wounds, meaning that this 8-year-old, 67-pound little girl had fought for her life. Donald was arrested and charged with kidnap, sexual battery, and first-degree murder. The evidence against him was overwhelming. There was CCTV that captured him leaving the store with Cherish. He was soaking wet when he was arrested after having just come from dumping her body in the creek, and his DNA was found all over her body. When tested, this DNA had a 1 in 35 quintillion match to Don. Donald Smith's trial began in February 2018. State Attorney Melissa Nelson told the jury in an opening statement, "Every mother's darkest nightmare became Rain Perrywinkle's reality." When the defense objected, Nelson repeated it louder and more forcefully, promising the jurors, "You will be changed at the end of this trial." Rain broke down in tears on the witness stand while testifying against Donald Smith, and the recording of her 911 call was played out to the court, reliving the moment that she realized her daughter had been taken. Rain said that the minute she noticed Cherish was gone, she had a gut feeling that Cherish was going to die and there was nothing she could do. The most harrowing moment, however, would come as Dr. Valerie Rao, the medical examiner who carried out the autopsy on Cherish, described of the 8-year-old's injuries in graphic detail to the court. Injuries so disturbing that she would request a break from testifying as she was too overwhelmed to proceed, but would find the strength to come back to talk through Cherish's injuries in detail, making it be known the extent to what Donald Smith had done to the child and how her anatomy had been left disfigured and destroyed. It would also come to light later on that Donald had bragged to an inmate about the crime, calling his trial bigger than Casey Anthony's, and even made sickening comments about Cherish, showing no remorse. Donald Smith's defense attorney, Julie Schlacks, suggested to the jury that Rain Perrywinkle made poor decisions getting into the van. She said she would cross-examine Rain, but after the mother's testimony, Smith told his attorneys not to cross-examine her. Smith had been released from jail just 3 weeks before Cherish's death, after serving 438 days on felony charges of child abuse and unlawful impersonation of a public employee. He had a lengthy criminal history that dated as far back as the 1970s. He has been a registered sex offender since a 1993 conviction in Duval County for attempted kidnapping and selling obscene materials. In 2009, Smith was posed as a Department of Children and Families employee in order to get close to a 9-year-old girl. He was later arrested on felony charges, which were then reduced to misdemeanors. It seems that time and time again, Donald Smith escaped the clutches of the law and was freed to repeat his offenses, growing bolder each time, once telling a prison inmate that his target was 12 to 13-year-old girls. Donald put forward no defense, and the jury took less than 15 minutes to find him guilty. Smith's son testified on his father's behalf, asking the jury to spare his life. This wasn't enough for the jury. He was later sentenced to death. Donald Smith still could not face his mother, Patricia Moore, who he lived with on Segovia Avenue in Jacksonville since his release from jail on May 31st of 2013. He told his mother that Cherish had followed him outside and hopped into his van. He didn't take her. She came willingly. He said he already knew he'd be in trouble from his previous convictions, so had to take her. He also emphasized that he wasn't a pedophile and didn't want to be seen as one. In January of 2022, Donald Smith attempted to appeal his death sentence. The U.S. Supreme Court rejected the request, with the sentence being upheld. Cherish's father, Billy Giroux, spoke out after the sentence was handed down, saying, "I don't think there is a way to have justice in something like this." Unfortunately for Rain, in 2016, she lost custody of her 2 daughters, Destiny and Nevaeh. In November of that year, adoption was finalized and the girls, then 7 and 9 years old, were sent to live with their aunt in Australia. State law mandates that permanency for children is the goal, and most of the time parents are given 12 months to complete a case plan. Rain had the chance to get her daughters back, but didn't meet the criteria. She said after her daughter was murdered, she was unable to keep a stable job and was often turned down because of who she was. She said that people blamed her for what happened to Cherish. On top of that, she said she was grieving the loss of her child and was in a dark place. Cherish Lily Perrywinkle, who was a student at Chaffee Trail Elementary School and loved to attend church every week with her family, will forever be remembered for the many hours she would spend drawing beautiful pictures for the people she loved, and her love of playing school with her sisters, acting as the teacher as she read to them and guided them. Her smile, that will be missed dearly, as well as her great ability to tell jokes, and also her accomplishment of learning to ride a bicycle without training wheels, which she had been very proud of.